just like we all predicted back in August, we have the Seattle Seahawks squaring off against the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 60. And in this video, I am joined by SI's Iain MacMillan, and we will break down the matchup. We'll talk about where the spread and the total stand. We'll take a peek at the early MVP board. Just to note that Iain and I will be back next week for a full preview and picks video. So hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Obviously early, but if you have any strong feelings on what you'll be betting in Super Bowl 60, let us know in the comments section. I do want to get to the spread. But first, since preseason futures odds have been tracked, it's the first time we've had two teams with preseason odds of 50 to 1 or longer to play in a Super Bowl. Seattle 60 to 1, New England 80 to 1. It got to be more likely as the season progressed, but if you can put yourself back to, say, 5 months ago, how surprised are you that we've got a Seattle-New England Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah, very surprised. I think anyone who said they're not surprised would be lying. I think if you told me before the season started, I think I'd believe the Patriots a little bit more because we knew with the Patriots they had Drake May. We knew Mike Vrabel was going to be a good coach and be an immediate difference maker. We knew their schedule was looking pretty favorable. Still, you'd be surprised they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, though. You would have figured they would have got to the playoffs and lost to like a Chiefs or a Bills or a Ravens. Obviously, that didn't happen. So the Patriots a little bit more believable. Seahawks, shocking. What a story for Sam Darnold, even after last year in Minnesota. Still, people, myself included, didn't believe in Sam Darnold. Didn't really think that going from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold was going to make that big of a difference. I don't think anyone saw the Seahawks defense being as elite as they are. So, yeah, pretty surprising stuff on both ends, but it is kind of funny because I think a lot of football fans were kind of sick of the Chiefs making it to the Super Bowl every year. And we're sick of seeing them. We're sick of seeing the Eagles and even your 49ers. So I think we were like, come on, like give us something different this year. Like make it two random teams in the Super Bowl. And it was like the monkey's paw, like the finger curled. It was like, I'll give you two random teams, but those two random teams are going to be the Patriots again, who were in the Super Bowl almost every year for 2 decades. And the Seahawks, maybe not to the same extent, but the Seahawks have made the Super Bowl twice in the past, decade plus 12. Do you have to go back 12 years? So yeah, random teams heading into this year. But when you look over the past 10, 15, 20 years, of NFL history. This matchup already happened. This matchup happened, 10 years ago? So, yeah, it is kind of funny how that worked out.
Yeah, and a classic Super Bowl that was. Fingers crossed we get the same kind of classic Super Bowl in this one. And I do want to talk about Sam Darnold because he was incredible yesterday. But like you said, it is funny, in hindsight, that many NFL fans were growing tired of the Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs dynasties. But here we are with the Pats back in the Super Bowl again. And while I'm not saying that the Drake May Patriots are a dynasty or anything, of course, have we even had enough time to breathe in between the last Pats dynasty, iMac?
No, absolutely not. And don't forget, in between the last Patriots dynasty winning Super Bowls, and now this team, Boston fans also got a Celtics NBA championship to hold them over. No, it's not. It's not fair. It's truly not fair. In my next life, there's nothing more I want than to come back as a Boston sports fan. Because what a world these people live in. I saw a tweet last week. The amount of conference championship games a Boston team has been in over the past 20 years. I think it was dating back to 2000. It's unbelievable. There's like 50 of them. And as a guy who's just hoping and praying and living and dying on every single game of my 3 favorite teams to still not have a championship, and now here's Boston being back in the Super Bowl. It's actually not fair. And I've been mixing it up with Patriots fans online on social media the past couple days. And all of them are like, you're just angry because we're back in the Super Bowl and your team sucks. It's like, yeah, correct. That's exactly what I'm angry about. I'm jealous is what it all boils down to. Must be nice to be a Boston sports fan. We thought that the Patriots were going to suck now for a long time. And of course, they hit the quarterback lottery with Drake May. So they had 4 bad seasons, and now they're back. So that's a long way to answer your question of no, it's not enough time between dynasties. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, and they do have a good QB, obviously. I don't think offensively they've played elite or anything in this playoff run, and we can save a lot of that conversation for next week's preview video. But
hold on, just one last thing about that. How many teams are in quarterback purgatory for mine? Like, think about the Jets. How hard it's been for them to get a quarterback, and the Patriots go from Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, to Mac Jones, who wasn't great, and then Drake May. Like, they had one bad quarterback. There's teams in the NFL who their entire franchise history have yet to find a good quarterback. The Patriots go from the GOAT to an MVP level quarterback. They hit on 2 out of 3. That's unbelievable, man. I can't imagine being a Jets fan. At least me as a Falcons fan, like we had Matt Ryan, who was an MVP and at least led us to a Super Bowl. But I can't imagine being like a Jets fan, like a Raiders fan. Like, you guys have never had a quarterback.
Hopefully Mendoza turns good for the silver and black, but time will tell. AFC Championship game, largely terrible. But the Rams Seahawks game, I thought pretty good. But Sam Darnold was fantastic. I thought he made all the right throws. He looked the part. Obviously, he's going to Super Bowl 60. What did that NFC Championship performance do for the Sam Darnold discourse, IMAC?
Yeah, I think it shows that he does kind of have confidence in those big games. Actually, I didn't even look at his numbers until right now. 346 yards. Whoo! And the Rams defense, not bad either. So, I know obviously the Super Bowl is kind of the next step up, but NFC Championship's obviously a very big game, especially against a divisional rival. So, and not only did he have good numbers, he looked confident in that game too. Maybe he's finally done seeing ghosts. Actually, ironically enough, that's kind of funny that now, like, his biggest test, his Super Bowl opponent is the team that he famously saw ghosts against back when he was with the Jets. So this is kind of the final test for him. But yeah, I think, I did thankfully bet the Seahawks in the NFC Championship, but a lot of people who didn't, and I almost didn't, their reason was I don't trust Sam Darnold in a big game. Well, I think he at least can now. He's certainly not an auto fade in the Super Bowl because of his past performances. So yeah, it's a really good step in the right direction for him.
Let's talk odds here, IMAC. At DraftKings, at the very least, this opened Seahawks -3.5. Quickly moved to 4.5. You don't need to give your pick or anything like that. We'll save that for next week's video. But what were your initial thoughts on that opening number, and then where it is now at the time of this recording with the Seahawks as 4.5-point faves?
I saw the 3.5 number and I said, there's no way it's staying at 3.5. I'm betting the Seahawks now. This will be the easiest and fastest I'll ever click on a bet. So I did. I bet the Seahawks -3.5. So I now have 2 weeks. I know you told me not to give it a pick. Saying what side I'm on anyways, because now I have 2 weeks to feel confident and excited about the fact I got a good number on the Seahawks, because I would be absolutely shocked if it goes back down to 3.5. Ultimately, probably won't mean anything. It's just a 1-point difference. It's not that big of a difference, but I think 4.5 is probably a little bit more right. I still think maybe a little bit of an edge on the Seahawks there. I could see maybe going up to 5 by the time the game kicks off. But yeah, and I think we all thought that the NFC Championship was kind of the Super Bowl. But crazy things have happened in the Super Bowl, and actually favorites have been really bad against the spread in the Super Bowl over the past, I think, 20 years. I think I had a number. Here it is. 7-15 against the spread favorites are since 2003 in the Super Bowl. So if you're on the Seahawks like I am, that might be a little bit concerning. But yeah, I thought the 3.5 was crazy. I think 4.5, 5 is probably the right number and where it's ultimately going to land.
I'll get your thoughts on the total and the MVP market in a second here, but folks, become a smarter better and sign up at Prop Professor, because right now you can get it for 25% off for the first month. Get hundreds of plus EV bets every day and get a real shot at finding long-term profit. NFL, NBA, the NHL, plenty more leagues, all covered. And it's more than just highlighting plus EV spots. There's a great arbitrage tool, fantasy optimizer, and tons more under the hood. Easily the best bang for buck on the market. So use the promo code OddsSharkPP at checkout and get 25% off for that first month. The total has come down a full point, 46.5, down to 45.5 IMAC. Thoughts on that number and the move down a full point?
I think that's... I understand the movement. I think the current line is probably closer to the right number. I wouldn't be surprised if it moves down a little bit more. The Seahawks defense is unbelievable. And I know the Patriots just won 3 straight games against 3 really good defenses, probably the next best defenses in the NFL. But you do have to take into consideration they only scored an average of 15.6 offensive points per game, obviously taking away the pick 6 in the Texans game. So 15.6 offensive points per game in those 3 games. Are they all of a sudden going to be able to figure out the Seahawks defense, which I think is the best defense in the NFL? I think they're better than the Texans. I think they're better than the Broncos. So if you're going to bet the over, you either think the Patriots are going to play a lot better offensively in this game than they did the past 3 weeks, or that the Seahawks are going to put up so many points that the Patriots only need to contribute a little bit for the total to go over. So even at the current number, I think it might drop another point. So I think right now maybe a little value on the under. I certainly see why it's moving that direction. I will say though, in the Patriots defense, I guess not great weather in the fourth quarter yesterday, but still, I mean, it's fine in the first half and they couldn't score. So yeah, I think it could potentially have the makings of a low scoring game.
Let's finish with just some MVP thoughts here. Your early thoughts, and then maybe, I don't know, if you were to enter this market, maybe one candidate from each team here. But at DraftKings, Sam Darnold plus 130, Drake May plus 235, JSN plus 550, Kenneth Walker plus 600. Then odds sort of fall off a cliff, and Ramondre's there at plus 2,500, and so on and so forth. Your thoughts on, maybe one candidate from either side here?
Yeah, let's start with the Patriots. I'll give you a non-quarterback candidate because I think the quarterbacks are the obvious choice on both teams. I think even more so for the Patriots because they don't really have a star receiver like the Seahawks do. Their running backs kind of split carry, so it's kind of hard to rely on one of the two running backs. So I think generally Drake May is probably the way to go. But if you look really far down the odds list, and it's kind of crazy to give out a defensive player to win Super Bowl MVP, but it has happened in the past. I think about how the Patriots would potentially win this game. I think it would be Sam Darnold potentially reverting back to seeing go Sam Darnold and throwing a couple of interceptions. And who would he likely be throwing the ball to? Jackson Smith and Jigba. Who would likely be covering Jackson Smith and Jigba? Christian Gonzalez, who is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL as is. So the odds board I'm looking at, 200-1 Christian Gonzalez to win Super Bowl MVP. Obviously, that's crazy. Probably not going to happen. But you can kind of see how that would potentially happen. It's certainly within the realm of possibility. If he gets 2 interceptions, shuts down JSN, Patriots win the game. Patriots offense doesn't do much. Certainly a world where Christian Gonzalez could win Super Bowl MVP. So that's at 200-1. And then the Seahawks, I think it is, if you want to not go Sam Darnold, it's going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's going to get by far the most targets. 5-1, I think, is more than a fair price. I mean, Rashid Shaheed, if he returns a special teams touchdown, maybe, but I think it's Jackson Smith and Jigba. And it's so hard to pick a defensive player for the Seahawks because I think if a defensive player wins it, it's going to be someone who maybe gets a few sacks on Drake May, maybe completely shuts down the MVP likely runner-up in Drake May. But there's just the Seahawks don't have one set pass rusher. You can go DeMarcus Lawrence, you can go Leonard Williams. Both those guys are at 100-1. So I think their defense is so much a case of a bunch of different players kind of playing as a group that it's hard to kind of single out one guy in the Seahawks defense. So a little bit square, but I do think if you're going to bet someone not named Sam Darnold, I think it is Jackson Smith and Jigba at 5-1 right now.
Just a reminder that we will have our game preview and best bets video next week, so turn on those notifications so you don't miss a thing from OddsShark heading into Super Bowl 60. Iain MacMillan, thanks for hopping on to chat, and we'll catch up next week.